Greetings, RC fanatics. It's Moodog from Moodog's Frugal RCs. We're in the research kitchen today, guys, with the WLtoys XKS 12429. This is what they are nicknaming the Storm Buggy. It's 112 scale. You guys may have seen my rig rundown video. I'll post a link in the description for that video so you guys can check that out if you haven't already seen that. Now, in having this vehicle for the short time I have had it, I noticed some shortcomings on it, and I'm comparing this directly to the 12428, which is the predecessor to this one, or what's better known as the Across buggy, and that one is an absolute speed demon, set up pretty much the same as this one. The suspension is the same, the motor, pinion, all of that stuff, the drivetrain is pretty much the same. The Achilles heel on this one is the extra added weight. You're dealing with a really thick plastic for the body on here, and the body panels are very, very heavy. So what I did originally to try to get more speed out of the vehicle was to change out the motor. The first motor I tried was a 13-turn open bell motor by, I think that was a Ghoul RC motor, maybe an Apex, probably an Apex. Pretty much same motor either way. That one turned out to be too much for this ESC. It was actually sending this ESC into kind of a limp mode and shutting it down. It just wasn't compatible. I also had another motor here on hand that I tried, and that was an Arma 15-turn Mega brushed motor, and that the same way, the lower amount of turns on the motor was too taxing and too demanding on this ESC, and was actually causing it to fail. So with that in mind, and really no choices for going to bigger pinions on this to try to get some more speed out of it, being that the stock motor plate on here is not slotted, so you can't really adjust your gear lash. I went ahead and I installed a mild brushless system on this. Now, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that this is the first of its kind, first brushless, documented anyway, brushless system on this vehicle. You can see some other differences on here, and we'll get into those in a second. But taking a look at this brushless system in here, I'm going to try to zoom in as best I can here and show you guys what we've done, or what I've done. Actually, let's go ahead and take this body off of here, and I'll show you the whole brushless system so you guys can see how this all fits together. All right, guys, removal of the body on this one is really pretty easy to do, and I do not know where that came from. I think that was laying on the table here. But there are 4 screws on the bottom here, one here, actually 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top. All right, guys, that's pretty much the disassembly process. I did have to remove the 2 screws from the top of the shock mounts and got those out of the way. A couple of things I wanted to show you on this vehicle that we've done, or that I've done to improve its performance, I think exponentially, is first off, the motor and ESC are now switched over to a 3100 kV brushless system. This is a 3650 size can, mimicking the 540 size brushed motor that was in here originally. This is very mild when it comes to 110 scale size, if you want to say, brushless system. So I wanted to stay with something mild. This is pretty much the same brushless system I have in another vehicle here. I purchased several of these. We can see that we have a built-in fan on this one here. Let me go ahead and zoom back out so we can see this a little easier. I will in fact move my camera up just a little bit as well. There we go. All right, so we've got a fan mounted up on top of the ESC. I went ahead and I waterproofed this ESC. This was not being sold as a waterproof ESC, so I've used a conformal coating on that, several coats. Pretty easy to do, and I think I have a video up for doing waterproofing on electronics. I'll post a link for that in the description as well. So we've got the Ghoul RC kind of knockoff, one and the same. Ghoul RC puts their name on motors manufactured in China, as do a bunch of other companies. Pretty much the same motor as a Ghoul RC, same system as a Ghoul RC. This one is, I believe, 60 amps, so you can run a 3S battery in here pretty easily. Don't think I'll be doing that with this vehicle, at least not on a regular basis. While it does have a lot of metal parts incorporated in the drivetrain, example being the front and rear differentials have metal gears on the inside. You have a metal drive shaft, main drive shaft coming from the center kind of transfer case, if you want to call it. And then you also have metal knuckles on the end here, but a plastic shaft in the rear. I don't want to overstress this stuff too much. We are dealing with a nylon spur gear in here and a brass pinion. So we want to make sure that we're not overtaxing that stuff. I like to, as you guys already know, I like to get the most mileage out of my OEM, or in this case, upgraded stuff as I possibly can. But this does quite well, really, really fast. I think if I put a 3S battery in here, this is going to be flipping over on its back. It's just that quick. Now, we can see some other components that were added to this. I have on here right now an Arma ADS-5 servo on here. Not the best servo in the world, but a step up and a step and a half up from the stock servo that was on here. This is a 3-wire servo, so we are dealing with a pretty decent, and I believe this one to have metal gears in it. Maybe this one does have a nylon drive gear on it, but still better than what was in there originally. So I'm using the R3E Fly Sky, which basically it's got a red tag on it, but it's a Fly Sky receiver, 4-channel. I'm also using a GT, I think it's a 3CE transmitter for this. Works out really, really nicely. Has a nice long antenna, and I'm kind of routing it up on top of the vehicle. I've got some decent shocks on here. These are from AWD RC. I've got these installed on here. These are oil filled, and they really do a nice job with this vehicle. You guys can see the upgraded tires on here, and I say upgraded because these are better than the ones that were originally on here. This vehicle has a propensity for living its life like a turtle on its back, so it does flip over quite easily, and it does not really right itself that easily. So what I'm trying to do in putting these wider and lower profile tires on here is actually going ahead and trying to keep this thing more stable. No, I don't know. I may end up adding some length to these axles by putting spacers in. I'm going to experiment with that going forward. But the wider tires in and of itself seem to remedy some of that situation. And these are Red Cat HSP, excuse me, tires off of a now out of commission blackout. So that these are working out nicely on here, 12mm hexes, so pretty good right out of the box. That's pretty much all I've done to this so far, and I do notice a pretty big difference in performance. As far as speed goes, I'm probably hitting close to 30 miles an hour with this setup the way it is. Everything seems to be running cool. I have had this off-road a few times already. Didn't film anything just yet. I wanted to try to make sure that I had everything kind of tested, pre-tested before I did any kind of bash videos with this. But now that this is done and I've had it out on the road several times and on the trail a couple times, I should say dirt, a couple times, I think it's time to do the bash video. I also had to make an adapter here so I could take my Dean's connector out the back and plug my battery in. And what I've done is just built a little kind of a extension cord, if you want to call it. Essentially what it is a female Dean's connector to a male Dean's connector, and then I went ahead and shrink wrapped the center here to keep any moisture or whatever out out of there. So that runs up the back to the battery bay. Battery bay out here, guys, is the same old battery bay I had before. Nothing has changed on that. I'm not using any bigger size batteries than I used to on here. I'm basically using the same LiPo battery that I started out using with this. Now this vehicle, if you remember, comes stock with a lithium ion 1500 milliamp per hour 2-cell battery pack, 35C 7.4 volt 2S. 1550 on this one, fits nicely in the battery bay in the back. The only thing I was not able to do is hook up the light bar on the top here. You can see there is a working light bar up here. So I ended up putting a little wiring adapter in here so I can run a small 2-cell 7.4 volt battery with a JST connector. I don't have that set up in here as of yet, but I did do some testing on it and it works. I'm thinking about using this platform right here on the back here, guys, to make some sort of a mount to mount that 7.4 volt battery. And that's just something like this one here, guys. Something small. This is actually maybe a little bit bigger than I probably would use. This is a 1200 milliamp per hour battery. I don't know if I'll need anything that big for this, but I guess you could mount something like that back here and charge it up and not have to worry about charging it for quite some time if you're just running a light bar. But that's how I'm going to do that, and I may end up incorporating an on and off switch for that as well. But that's pretty much the upgrades that I've done to this so far, guys. Look forward to some more videos coming up. I just want to thank everybody for stopping by. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me, guys. It doesn't cost you a penny. Helps me out a lot. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all of my content as soon as I upload it to YouTube. We'll see you all in the next one, and God bless the Republic.